presentation is going to offer some insights into the causes of technostress, which can be highly valuable to many organizations. So why should we know about it? Today, we are living through the most disruptive and technological transformational times in human history. Such dynamic environment can create different types of stress in organizations and at home. Technostress can lead to lack of productivity amongst our employees, unused technology, therefore we will never tap into the potential of that technology, increase anxiety and stress of our employees that can lead to resistance to change and also to work overload. This presentation is part of our bigger research study, helping organizations to increase users' adoption of specific technologies like business intelligence. Did you know that adoption of BI has been met by high failure rates? This means that businesses are spending millions of dollars to implement this technology while spending more than 12 months taking through the whole organization through various changes. Therefore, these mini presentations are going to take us on a journey to identify the success factors in business intelligence tool adoption, as well as to identify known risks that organizations should consider and mitigate. Organizations need to consider all control variables that can successfully influence adoption of technologies, including unconventional tools like social media. The motivation behind these mini presentations came about from my team's presentation at Florida Atlantic University in our doctorate program, where we did a mini research on how impact of social media videos and self-efficacy can have an intent on adoption of business intelligence technology. But overall, the purpose of this channel is to really drive better understanding of why there are so many unsuccessful technology adoptions and how we as organizations can learn in practice and from theory to execute these high technological investments in the most successful way. But let's start with the analogy of an iceberg, which I already mentioned in my part 1 of video. In an iceberg, only about 10% of the iceberg is visible above the waterline. The majority of the iceberg is hidden beneath the surface. In 1976, Edward Hall suggested that culture was similar to an iceberg. He proposed that culture has 2 components and that only about 10% of culture, which is the external or surface culture, is easily visible, and the majority of the 90% of culture, internal or deep culture, is hidden below the surface. So we can actually compare the business intelligence to an iceberg because we only see 10% of the results above the waterline, but it can give us a false idea that business intelligence implementation or any similar technologies can be executed fast and are quite simplistic in nature. However, the 90% of the success factors really lies beneath the waterline, and that's where we can really identify the success factors and also all the components that can drive the more successful implementation of similar technologies. So what we are saying is that what we see at the surface, like the visualization tools, great dashboards and reporting, companies are already showing competitive advantage through being digital and data savvy. They have already identified new market opportunities. This actually is just only 10% of the outcome, but the effort and the success really lies beneath the waterline, and that comprises the 90% of the effort. And today we will be focusing on one of the elements that influences the success of technology adoption, and that is called technostress. If you look at the academic research, we have found that between 2003 and 2019 years, the academic research has exploded with research around the Technostress, and it has generated more than 140 articles that have been published across 296 authors. But the most productive authors are Price Law and Lopez. So it's very interesting that if you look at the chart, really the growth has started between 2011 and 2013, where it kind of coincides, with the growth of, or with the introduction of smartphones, right, around the 2008, 2009 years, and all the smart tablets, and even the accessibility of better technology to users and consumers. And this specific chart is actually published in a Bondanini study issued in 2020. Another interesting chart or visualization that was mentioned in the same study has been around all the keywords that have been associated with the technostress. Um, so technostress is often associated with consequences, information technology, acceptance of technology, adoption, behavior, information, information orientated, stress, impact, performance, work, and also the dark side of information systems. So what is technostress? And what are the technological antecedents and their implications? Technological stress, also known as technostress, is real and it has been on the rise. We are surrounded by more information and communication technologies today than ever before. The term technostress was actually coined in 1984 by clinical psychologist Craig Broad, who described it as a modern disease caused by one's inability to cope or deal with information's technologies in a healthy manner. Stress in the workplace is recognized as contributing to litany of health and quality of life issues that could have far-reaching consequences. All this was mentioned from studies by Cooper et al. In 1996, Sutherland and Cooper in 1990, and Tennant in 2001. So the technology characteristics manifest stress by creating the misfits between the individual's abilities and environment's demands, and between the individual's supplies and the environment's value. You can check out the study by Ayagari from 2011. The misfits are the stressors due to information and communication technologies. There are many studies that are trying to identify the specific technology characteristics that act as antecedents to stressors, which in turn predict strain due to ICTs. And here is kind of more of a graphical way of the flow of what actually leads to the strains. So understanding the technological characteristics, it will help us to understand if they become the stressors, and therefore the stressors will lead to strains. In this study by Ayagari in 2011, they have identified three types of technology characteristics. One is the usability features, dynamic features, and also inclusive features. And so like from the usability features, those can be like the usefulness of the technology, like will it really help to enhance the job performance. Then from the usability features also it includes complexity, understanding how complex and difficult is to use the technology. So we know, for example, from business intelligence tools, they are highly complex. And then the reliability feature, that is the degree to which features and capabilities provided by the technologies are dependable. So the dynamic feature is really talks about the pace of change, right? So today we know that we are living through fast changes in technology. So therefore, the faster it changes, it can put more pressure on employees to keep up with the new technologies and their application in the work environment. Um, so then lastly, we've got something called presentism, which means the degree to which technologies enable individuals to be reachable. So that means is, like for example, having the messengers, email and the voicemail. How quickly do you need to check, because it creates kind of these notifications on your, let's say, mobile technologies like your smartphones. And then the anonymity, which is the degree to which exact use of technology could be identifiable. So collaborative technologies like the instant messaging, video conferencing, and the teleconferencing, especially now post-COVID. I mean, we have gone through an enormous digital transformation in organizations. So this is really great summary of, what are the technology characteristics and what they actually mean in the real kind of business applications. Next, I want to touch on as well, these techno stresses can be impacted by generational, the differences, right? If you look at the study from Thames et al. In 2018, it found that age acts as a moderator of the interruption stress link due to differences in concentration, competence, and confidence, but it doesn't capture. And this study contributes to the information system research by explicitly elucidating that the role of age in information system phenomena, especially interruption-based technostress. So the proliferation of information and communication technologies such as instant messenger has created an increasing number of workplace interruptions that cause employee stress and productivity losses across the world. So this growth in interruption has paralleled another trend, the graying of the workforce. So meaning the different generations, right? Because we've got the baby boomers, we've got the millennials, the X and Y generation. So we need to recognize that organizations employ different generations that have had different how they learn about the new technologies. They've had a different learning curves. So that this is a real stress impact factor to consider when we want to implement new technology in businesses. Another kind of interesting antecedent to technostress is also something about the we need to consider the role of the employees and their individual productivity. So another interesting study completed by Tarafdar et al. In 2017. The article is all about the studies the impact of technostress on role stress and productivity. So this study uses socio-technical theory and role theory to explore the effects of stress created by information or computer technology. And the outcome really of the study, it talks about the technostress inversely affects productivity. Therefore, failure to manage the effects of information and computer technology induced stress can offset expected increases in productivity. And also the study validates that there is a positive relationship between technostress and role stress. So again, organizations are very complex structures, right? So we need to really consider the role of individuals, their impact on productivity, and how the overall technological stress should be mitigated to allow and to deliver or to enable the employees to fully benefit and deliver the productivity that the employers are really seeking. Another interesting area to consider is about the role ambiguity and work overload. So the role ambiguity, it's a constant connectivity. So when having a constant connectivity that enables interruptions at work and constant changes in ICTs creates situations in which conflicting demands exist. So normal work demands versus new learning demands. So what they are really saying is that you can be a marketing person, and you understand your functions in and out, but suddenly you are brought this element of quickly learning and adopting technologies that are implemented by companies, and they are not necessarily just implemented for marketing specific function, but it's going to be used and beneficial across all functions and layers of the organizations. So suddenly it creates a new role, right, new responsibility and accountability within the employee's job, right, that hasn't been previously defined, but yet it's part of our roles, right? And then the study also talked about the work overload. So below technology characteristics act as antecedents to work overload. So that includes the usability features, dynamic features, and the intrusive features. Um, so again, the work overload can be mitigated by successful technology adoptions, right? Because we believe that having better and more sophisticated technology, it can lead to better decision making, as well as efficiencies and productivity. But if the stresses around the use of multiple technologies can create too much anxiety and resistance to adoption, your work or the employee's work is going to grow bigger, and therefore will overload the employees, and that is going to negatively impact the productivity of our workforce. So just in summary, we are still talking about the interesting combination of how self-efficacy can drive um, the intent to use BI technology by individuals users, by them being exposed to all this business intelligence generated content, right? But we are really stepping back and trying to understand how Technostress influences the adoption of technologies, and how organizations needs to be really aware of these stressors that they are putting onto employees, from their role definition, from their work overload, and other factors. In our studies, or these mini presentations, we will be still covering different types of social media and how they can influence and have a success in faster and better quality of implementation of these technologies. So in conclusion, the user adoption of new technologies is influenced by many control variables. Do you remember with the iceberg, 90% of the work really sits below the waterline, and it's not easy. Technostress, as one of the components within the 90% of the iceberg, is a real potential, resistance to the adoption of the technology in today's environment, and can be highly costly to organizations, because technostress can lead to lack of productivity. It can lead to unused technologies. Therefore, we will never tap into the potential of the technology that can create the value in businesses, that can lead to the competitive advantage, as well as technostress can give rise to the anxiety and stress of our employees that can drive the lack of productivity, as well as resistance to change of technology, and overall culture within the organizations that as well drives the work overload. So my friends, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. We will be issuing more mini series on how to identify more success factors to drive better adoption of various technologies like business intelligence. For now, I thank you, and I'll see you shortly. Ciao, ciao.